Brown versus Board of Education by Mrs. Sunderland. We've all heard this story from a relative. When I was your age, I walked to school in the snow, up hills, so many miles, barefoot both ways. That probably wasn't true, but put yourself in Linda Brown's shoes. The year is 1951. You live in Topeka, Kansas. Linda had to walk 20 blocks to Monroe School, even though there was another elementary school just 7 blocks away from her house. Linda's parents and several others tried enrolling their kids in the much closer Sumner Elementary. They were not allowed to go there because Sumner was a school for whites and Monroe was a school for black kids. Linda was a child during the reign of Jim Crow laws and separate but equal. Sadly, these two schools were separate, but definitely not equal. Monroe had broken ceiling tiles, plaster windows, they had older textbooks, the classes were overcrowded, they didn't have enough school supplies. In fact, for every $150 spent at Sumner, only $50 was spent at Monroe. Is that equal? The Brown family, along with others, decided to take action. They filed a court case against the Topeka Board of Education that stated that blacks were not being treated fairly in schools. Today, we can't even imagine something like this happening. The solution seems so easy. So what happened? The state courts of Kansas ruled in favor of a previous case, Plessy versus Ferguson, which upheld that it was separate but equal. Since no court had ever overturned this case, the courts thought there was no problem treating black children that way. The state court also stated that by treating the African American students like this now would help them accept this in the future. This was a time when black people of all ages were treated like they were lower class citizens. They were unable to eat in the same restaurants, drink from the same drinking fountains, use the same restrooms. The Browns weren't about to give up. They filed an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. There were many cases in the U.S. similar to this one, cases that challenged separate schools for black and white students. These were all started in the states of South Carolina, Virginia, and Delaware. They were all joined together to be fought as one. The lawyers for the Board of Education argued that many people, including black scholars, did not see a problem with having black students attend all black schools. The lawyers on the Brown side argued that the only reason for separate education for black and whites was to prove that black children were different from everyone else. After 3 long years, the case finally ended on May 17, 1954, with the court finding in favor of Linda Brown. The Supreme Court said that it is not fair to have black and white students separated in schools. The judges voted on this case 9-0. They ruled in favor of the 14th Amendment. 9 months later, after the court decision, lawsuits were filed in 34 states. The southern states showed strong resistance, but they slowly integrated under federal court orders, along with threats from losing federal funds. The court decision not only called for racial balance in the material world, but also racial equality in mind. It also changed our legal system. That's me.